We're here at the intersection of Nelson and El Capitan. It's a short little segment of road. El Capitan is essentially a cul-de-sac. It's about a half a block long. I think there are 13 houses in it. And there are 4 houses here, between here and the stop sign. This was the scene of before this project got started. Parents from the Hoover School, all PAUSD parents, primarily from places on other parts of town, so they had to drive their kids to school. Hoover's an elementary school and a magnet school, so most of the people who go here don't actually live in the neighborhood. About 330 cars a day, I counted it one day, would go through that circulator, and a goodly percentage of them would come from the west, and they can't make a left turn into the circulator, so they had to make a series of some sort of U-turn to get back going on the west on East Charleston, so they could get to the circulator entrance. So a small number of them, actually I guess between 35 and 45 a day, which makes it about 10% of the parents coming here, would come up to this intersection. They'd make a right turn, and some of them would make an immediate U-turn where that brown car is. They would start, and sometimes they'd come up to here wherever they could find space, and they'd make a U-turn. Well, that's typically, it's really hard to say it was illegal, because as it turns out you need 200 feet in front of you and behind you, and that road to the right and left had a stoplight on it, and so whatever the cars were, they were not necessarily 200 feet. Even though they might have been closer than 200 feet, they would in some cases have a stoplight, and so it probably didn't matter. But as you can see, there's particularly on that corner that the camera's focused on now, there's foliage right up to the sidewalk, and so a car coming down to the west, from the west going to the east, could easily right turn a little too quickly perhaps, and smack into a car making a U-turn here in the middle of the street. I don't know that ever happened, but it was obviously a risk factor. Other parents, a little more cautious, would come down to this apron where El Capitan exits into Nelson, and they would make a U-turn in this area here. According to a couple of residents, there were 1 or 2 accidents with people who lived in the cul-de-sac with people who made these U-turns. I haven't looked in the historical data to see if there's any evidence of that's happening. It seemed a little odd that the people who lived here couldn't negotiate somebody making a U-turn, since they are obviously doing virtually 0 miles an hour by the time they get from wherever they backed out into El Capitan till they get up here. There's not a stop sign or a yield sign here, but still it makes sense to actually come to almost a complete stop before you exit a road like this. The foliage is not blind. I mean, the field of view to the right is not all that bad, because as you can see, the fence at this house is set back 10 or 15 feet. And this hedgerow, which comes right up to the sidewalk here, is short enough that you can see over the top of it. At any rate, the left turn lanes have pretty much put an end to the 40 or 45 people making these U-turns, just like we're seeing this person here do. Obviously it hasn't put an end to it, but nonetheless it's greatly reduced. If there is anything good coming out of this Charleston Arastradero project for people who live in this block and this block only, it's that these U-turns have disappeared from 7:35 to about 8. Well, actually they've almost ended 8 on the dot, because kids need to be at school starting around 8, and most of the parents by 7:55, virtually all of the parents were in the circulator. So this traffic pattern down here that created so much fear was generally over in 30 minutes or less.